when we look to organic farming in the future, we need to think about how sustainable it is. And that means thinking about where the nitrogen is going to come from that allows us to produce crops and to produce livestock. That nitrogen needs to come from sustainable sources, and we need to ensure that nitrogen which is sold off in crop products and livestock products is replaced in the system. In order to produce good yields and to produce high quality products, nitrogen is a key component. For example, in terms of the amount of protein in grain for bread making. And unless we are able to maintain those yields and maintain that quality, then organic farming will simply not be an economic option for the farmer. The two main sources of nitrogen that we use in organic farming, one is nitrogen fixation from legume plants, but the other involves either manures or waste streams. Now, in the past, most organic farming systems would have had crops and livestock, but as we look to a future that perhaps has fewer livestock for reasons of climate change and for reasons of dietary change, then we need to think about what other sources there may be in society that we can use in producing organic food and feed. The sources we might contemplate are those that come from society. If we think about the idea of closing the loop, that nitrogen goes out of the system and must come back, the barriers, I suppose, are around what possible contaminants there are in those systems. So things like microplastics, for example. There are also going to be barriers around consumer acceptability, and there will also be barriers around the losses of nitrogen. We want to prevent losses, whether through gases or through leaching losses, to the maximum extent possible. The interesting thing about different sources or different organic sources of nitrogen is their availability. So compost has a fairly low amount of available nitrogen, whereas digestates have a much higher amount. So we need to plan how we can recycle nitrogen in the most efficient way. When we look to the future, I think there's huge grounds for optimism, particularly through thinking about new technologies and thinking about the way that we are now able to process residues and to apply residues using new techniques and precision agricultural techniques, all give us excellent options for how we use nitrogen in the future.